The Black Legion's Legionnaires, members of a vicious chapter of the Chaos Space Marines, whose lineage stems back to Horus's 16th Legion, known as the Lunar Wolves, then becoming the Sons of Horus, before turning against the Emperor and the Imperium. After Horus's fall, the Sons of Horus were left fractured and demoralized until they were united again, along with other traitorous warbands, by Abaddon the Despoiler. They became the largest and most diverse Chaos force, donning the title of the Black Legion and adopting the black armor with gold trim, along with the iconic golden eye symbol to signify their new united purpose: relentless war against the Imperium and humanity.
Brothers and sisters of the Warhammer universe, welcome back to Tortuga's Grim Rosaline. My name is Jeff, and today I'm going to show you how I paint Grimdark Black Legion armor using one of my Black Legion Legionnaires. And this is actually going to be a first part of two videos on my 2025 year-end wrap-up diorama for the Black Legion army that I'm building. And on top of that, after Christmas, we'll be starting on our CHAOS WarpLord Titan that I've been promising. But before we get to all that, I need you to do all those YouTube things that you do so well down below. Click on like, share, subscribe. And now that that's all done, let's do this.
So here's a list of all the paints that we'll be using on this build. So we've already primed and base coated our miniature here with our airbrush using Vallejo's black primer and Game Air Black. So we're going to start off with Retributor armor, doing my favorite, your favorite, everybody's favorite, the notorious Chaos trim. And we're going to do the trim on all of the armor, the shoulder pads, the helmet, and the backpack. And remember, because this is a metallic, we always want to do 2 thin coats of this. And don't worry at all if you go slightly over while painting the trim, because we will always touch up everything after the final base color. Next up, we are going to be using Vallejo's Gory Red, and we're going to be painting the leather tabard as well as the power coils on the plasma gun. And you can already see that I am in the process of doing my second coating here. And always give yourself time in between your coats, so that way you won't have your brush strokes showing on your paint jobs. Next up, we're going to be using Leadbelcher, and we're going to be using this on all the metallics on the armor, the helmet, and the backpack. And the same goes with every metallic paint. Always give yourself 2 coats. That first one's going to come out a little spotty, the second's going to bring it home. And no, your eyes aren't playing tricks on you. My new camera, I'm still trying to figure out my auto-focusing, but I promise I'll get this down for the next couple videos. Up next, we're going to be using Vallejo's Model Air Copper, and we're going to put this on all the emblems of the miniature. And of course, being metallic, like I said in the priors, we're always going to use 2 thin coats to really bring that color out. About halfway through painting my Black Legion, I started using copper on all my emblems, and honestly, I love the color scheme that it brings out, as well as when I'm doing the weathering and breakdown of the armors. Oxidation on the copper looks so much better and brings a whole nother area to that miniature. We're next going to be using Citadel's Dark Reaper, and we're going to use that to paint all the joints in between the armor on the miniature, as well as tubing on the armor, backpack, or helmet. We're going to switch over to Citadel's MournFang Brown next to paint the holster as well as the belt. And we're going to use 2 coats of this to really bring out that rich color. And we're purposely starting off with a lighter shade of brown here because we're going to be doing a couple different washes to bring out a weathered textured look. And the lighter start is going to make it even easier to see later on. We're going to be moving on to Vallejo's Game Air Bonewhite, and we're going to be using this to paint the fangs on the plasma pistol, as well as the straps on the holster, the horns off of the helmet, as well as the skulls on the backpack. And of course, we are doing 2 thin coats to really bring that Bonewhite out and not have it look splotchy. We're now going to move on to the glowing eyed effect on the helmet. And what I'm going to use is I always start off with Vallejo's white, and I will paint in the eye sockets around there. And then I will take the Citadel's Baal red, and I will paint in the eye socket and around the frame of the eyes to kind of give it that glowing effect. And now that all the base colors are done, I've assembled my miniature, and we can already see how nice it's starting to look. So this is my oil wash version of G Violet. It's Winsor & Newton's Cadmium Red and Ultramarine Blue. And I'm going to use this on the leather tabard as well as the coils on the plasma pistol. Next is going to be my oil wash version of Gnome Oil, which is going to be Winsor & Newton's Lamp Black, and I'm going to be putting this over all of the metallic areas on my Legionnaire. The great thing about oil washes is they really bring out all of your texture, nooks and crannies, crevices of anything that you're putting it on. And with the long life cycles of oil washes, it makes them easier to maneuver them around so you don't get pooling like regular washes. And you can easily remove some areas that might be too much into one specific spot. Next is my oil wash for Serencipia. This is going to be Winsor & Newton's Burnt Umber. I'm going to be putting this on the straps of the holster as well as the holster in the center areas to give its first lighter wash shape. Up next is going to be my oil wash version of Argaxar Shade, and that's going to be using Winsor & Newton's Burnt Sienna and Lamp Black. I'm going to be putting this on all the leather, the holster, the armor, and all of the gold and copper on my Legionnaire. So on the holster, like I mentioned before, put this around the outside of the holster to give it a darker area from the lighter wash that you put on originally. Up next is my oil wash version of Fugan Orange using Winsor & Newton's Cadmium Red and Cadmium Orange. We're going to be applying this to the plasma pistol on the gold plating and the metallics to give a nice reactor glow from the fusion coils. And with our oil washes done, our Legionnaire is looking great. Next we're going to be using Villainy Ink's Goon's Grime. And we're going to be applying Goon's Grime to almost everything on our Legionnaire except for the metallics, the fusion coils, and the glowing eyes. It's not just the awesome grimy color Goon's Grime gives to everything, but the texture inside it as well that looks amazing on leather, armor, and fabrics. We're next going to be using Villainy Ink's Quelea Green, and we're going to be using this to put an oxidation on all of the copper emblems. So whenever I use Quelea Green, I always use a hairdryer with it, and that's to really bring out the oxidation. Something with using a heat on there for a couple minutes brings it out even better than just letting it dry by itself. We're going to be using Villainy Ink Ex-Machina next. We're going to be using this as a rust effects on all of our metallics, as well as the corners of all the armor panels. And like the Quelea Green, we're going to be using a hairdryer to heat up the areas to really bring out that rust effect a lot more. And we can keep adding Ex Machina to it and using the hairdryer back and forth till we get the color that we want it to look at. And with all of our enamels done, I'm not going to lie, our Legionnaire is looking pretty amazing. And it's now time to start the highlighting. We're going to start off with Green Stuff World's Chrome Metal. We're going to use this to highlight all of the metallics on the Legionnaire. Up next is Green Stuff World Antique Gold Chrome Metal, and we're going to use this to highlight all of the trim and any other gold on the Legionnaire and the weapons. You can't do Grimdark without a whole lot of blood, and Blood for the Blood God is going to give it to you. And we're going to use this on the skulls just to give a nice gore effect. And there you have it, a Grimdark Black Legion Legionnaire. Looking like one of the things in the deepest, darkest corners of your worst nightmare. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you might have picked up something that you can use along one of your future builds. And like I always say, Grim for the Grim Rosaline.